She came to the well for water, but she left the jar behind, and soon people from her town were walking toward the man she had just met. What happened in that conversation? And why did Jesus speak so clearly to her? John 4 is often remembered as the story of a woman whose past was exposed, but that is not the deepest surprise. The decisive moment is what happened after her past was already on the table. Jesus did not end the conversation. He stayed. He answered her questions. He spoke about worship, truth, and the Messiah. Then the woman who had arrived carrying a water jar returned to town carrying a testimony. Jesus was traveling from Judea toward Galilee. His route took him through Samaria, a region many Jews viewed with suspicion. Near Sychar, he stopped at a well associated with Jacob. Tired from the journey, he sat beside it around the 6th hour, roughly midday. His disciples went into town to buy food, then a Samaritan woman came to draw water. The text does not explain why she came at that hour. Many readers imagine that she was avoiding other people, but John never says that. We should not build certainty out of silence. What John tells us is already enough to create tension. She was a Samaritan.
Give me a drink.
Jesus was a Jewish man.
Why do you,
and he
Jew,
asked her,
ask me,
give me a drink.
Samaritan, for a drink?
That request crossed more than one boundary. Jews and Samaritans shared parts of the same ancient story, but centuries of conflict had divided them. Both groups connected themselves to Israel's heritage and honored the law of Moses. Yet they disagreed about sacred history and the proper place of worship. Jewish worship centered in Jerusalem. Samaritans regarded Mount Gerizim as the chosen holy place. This division shaped identity and trust. To ask a Samaritan woman for water was not merely to ask for help. It was to begin a conversation across a line many people preferred to keep in place.
You are a Jew.
The woman recognized
and
the
I am a
discomfort
Samaritan
immediately.
woman.
How
Why
is
are
it that
asking
you,
me
a
for
Jew,
drink?
ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria? She did not respond passively. She questioned him. She noticed the contradiction. Jesus shifted the conversation from the water inside the well to what he called living water. At first, she understood him in practical terms. The well was deep. He had no bucket. Where could this water come from?
This water come
Was
from?
he greater than Jacob? Her questions were not
greater than
foolish.
Jacob?
They followed the meaning available to her in that moment.
You are greater
Jesus
than
told her
Jacob?
that anyone who drank from the well would become thirsty again, but the water he gives would become a spring, leading to eternal life. She asked him for that water. The conversation had started with a physical need. Now Jesus was leading her toward a deeper thirst. You see, the human longing for life that cannot be secured by repeating the same routines.
Go and call
Then the
your
conversation
husband
changed.
And come here.
Go, call your
Sir,
husband,
I
and
have
come
no
here,
husband.
Jesus said. She answered,
I
have no husband.
husband.
Jesus replied that she had spoken truthfully. She had had 5 husbands, and the man she was now with was not her husband. This is where many retellings become careless. John does not tell us how those marriages ended. He does not say whether death, divorce, abandonment, personal failure, social pressure, economic vulnerability, or several circumstances were involved. He does not call her a prostitute or an adulteress. He does not give us enough information to diagnose her emotions, personality, or private history. The text gives us a complicated past, not permission to invent the missing chapters. What matters is how Jesus handles what he knows. He does not use her history as entertainment. He does not announce it to a crowd. He does not reduce her to the most difficult fact in her life. He tells the truth, but he remains present. Truth enters the conversation, and mercy does not leave it. People often use truth as a weapon. They discover one painful detail and allow it to replace everything else they know about a person. A failure becomes a name. A loss becomes an identity. A relationship history becomes the total explanation of someone's worth. But dignity begins when truth can be faced, without allowing the past to become the totality of a person's identity. The woman answered,
The proper
"Sir, I
place
perceive
of
that
worship
you are
is
a
upon
prophet."
this mountain.
Then she raised the dispute between
You
Mount
are a
Gerizim
And I am a Samaritan
Jerusalem.
woman.
Some readers treat this
How
only
can
as an
you ask
attempt to
me
change
for
the
a
subject.
drink?
That is possible, but John does not tell us her motive, and the question itself was real. If the man before her possessed prophetic insight, then one of the deepest religious conflicts between her people and the Jews demanded an answer. Where should God be worshipped? On Mount Gerizim, as the Samaritans believed, or in Jerusalem, as the Jews insisted? Jesus did not mock her question or tell her theology was beyond her. He answered with seriousness. He said the hour was coming when worship would no longer be defined simply by that mountain or by Jerusalem. He placed salvation within the story coming through the Jews, then widened the horizon. True worshippers, he said, would worship the Father in spirit and truth.
To worship him in
This did not mean that every belief was equally correct. It meant access to God would not be controlled by geography, ethnicity, or possession of a sacred location. Worship would be shaped by God's Spirit and by the truth God was revealing. The conversation had moved from a well to thirst, to her history, to the future of worship. And she was still engaged. Emotional maturity is not avoiding discomfort. It is remaining present long enough to recognize what we feel, reconsider what we believe, and choose a response that is not governed only by our first reaction. The woman could have ended the conversation when Jesus named her past. Instead, she stayed. She asked. She listened. Her understanding changed step by step. First, she saw him as a Jewish stranger. Then she wondered whether he might be greater than Jacob. Then she called him a prophet. Finally, she spoke about the coming Messiah. I know that Messiah is coming,
I know that
she
Messiah
said.
is coming,
When he
and
comes,
will explain
he will explain
everything.
everything to us. Jesus answered with striking directness,
Yes.
I
it
who
is
speak
I.
to you am he. Within John's gospel, this is an unusually clear moment of self-disclosure. Why did Jesus speak so clearly to her? John does not reveal Jesus' private reasoning, but the shape of the story gives us a meaningful answer. The revelation is not offered as a reward for social status, religious authority, education, ethnicity, gender, or a spotless public history. It comes in a conversation where honesty is met by continued presence. The deepest surprise is not that Jesus knew her past, like it is that he knew it, stayed in the conversation, revealed himself, and
They
allowed
must
her
carry
words
the
to carry the encounter into the town.
Your word.
And you will carry the
Her
water
history was
to all
known
who wait.
before her testimony began. That changes the meaning of everything that follows. The disciples returned and were surprised to find Jesus speaking with a woman. Before the moment could be controlled or explained, she left her water jar and went back to town. John does not say the jar was permanently abandoned, but he deliberately mentions that she left it behind. The object that brought her to the well suddenly became less urgent than the news she now carried. She told the people, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did.
Come see
Could
a
this
man
be
who
the
told me
Christ?"
everything I ever did.
Her words are remarkable for their honesty and restraint. She did not claim to understand everything. She did not give herself a title or force a conclusion. She told them what had happened, asked a question, and invited them to come and see. That invitation shows intelligence and agency. Her testimony did not center on making herself appear righteous. It centered on the possibility that the man at the well was the one they had been waiting for. And the town moved. John then makes an important distinction. Many Samaritans initially believed because of the woman's testimony. Her voice mattered. Her complicated history did not disqualify her from speaking about what she had encountered, but their faith did not remain dependent on her words alone. The Samaritans asked Jesus to stay, and he remained there for 2 days. After hearing him personally, they told the woman that they no longer believed only because of what she had said. They had heard for themselves, and they confessed that Jesus truly was the Savior of the world. Her testimony opened the road. Jesus became the destination. That distinction protects the dignity of both the witness and the listener. The woman's role was real. Her words caused movement, but she did not become the center of the faith she announced. She led people toward an encounter she could not manufacture for them. For Christian faith, this pattern still matters. A testimony is not meant to make the witness look impressive. It is not a performance of spiritual superiority. It is an honest account that points beyond the speaker. We can tell the truth about what we have seen while allowing other people the dignity of seeking, listening, and responding for themselves. The way Jesus treats the woman also challenges how Christians handle truth. He does not avoid the difficult part of her story. Mercy does not mean pretending the past does not exist, but he does not weaponize that past against her. Truth is not separated from dignity. That raises an uncomfortable question. When someone's difficult history becomes known to you, do you see the whole person more clearly, or do you stop seeing the person at all? It is possible to know a true fact about someone and still hold a false picture of who they are. We do this when one chapter is treated as the entire book. John 4 presents another way. Jesus speaks truthfully. The woman remains engaged. Her questions deepen. Her recognition grows. And the conversation produces action. She is not presented as a passive object in someone else's spiritual lesson. She observes, questions, interprets, responds, and invites. Her past is part of the conversation, but it is not the final word. This is one reason the scene still carries such spiritual power. Many people fear that being fully known will lead to final rejection. They hide, defend, perform, or carefully manage what others are allowed to see. But in this passage, being known does not end the conversation. It deepens it. Christian faith does not teach that truth is unnecessary, or it teaches that grace can meet a person where truth has already arrived. That does not erase responsibility, consequences, or the need for change, but it refuses to say that a person can be understood completely by the worst, most painful, or most complicated part of their history. The woman came to the well with an ordinary need. She expected to draw water. Instead, she entered a conversation that crossed social boundaries, named her history, challenged inherited divisions, and confronted her with the identity of Jesus. She did not receive every answer, but she received enough truth to act. What changes most about the way you see this woman after reading John 4 carefully? Share your answer in the comments. The conclusion is not a woman running away because her past had been exposed. It is a woman moving toward others after truth and mercy met her in the same place. If you value biblical stories, told with historical care, emotional depth, and respect for what the text actually says, subscribe to the channel. And beside Jacob's well, the jar remained, evidence of the ordinary need that brought her there, and of the greater urgency that sent her away. She arrived carrying a physical need, but she left carrying a testimony. She was fully known, but her past was not allowed to become the final word.